friends. Welcome to another segment of My Generation, a podcast sponsored by and in collaboration with the Social Senior News, a monthly newspaper that connects seniors and the sandwich generation on a monthly basis. My name is Doreen Lang, and I'm your host. This segment is recorded and can be found along with other segments on socialseniornews.com. Today, it is my pleasure to speak with Patsy Whitney, associate broker with William Raveis in Hingham. Welcome, Patsy.
Welcome. Thank you.
Happy to have you here.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, real estate is such an intense situation right now out there. So we have kind of a lot to go over, but let's start with, if you could share how long you've been in the industry.
I've been in it 39 years. So you talk about shifts, ups, downs, lows. I've seen it all, or at least I thought I saw it all until now.
I bet you have. Have you always been on the South Shore?
I have not. For 30 years, I was outside of Albany, New York, actually within the Capital District, and I sold real estate there. And that's where I started. And 5 years ago, just about 5 years ago, we moved here to be closer to family. So
wonderful.
Downsized myself.
Excellent, which we all try to do, right?
Right.
In our family, especially these days.
Right.
Okay, so you're in Hingham right now.
Yes.
And but you've been in the business a long time. You said 37 years?
39.
39. Wow. Okay, so maybe you could just tell us some of the major changes since you began in the industry back then.
Oh my gosh. I got my license on September 9th, 1983. And I was waiting for my license to actually participate in real estate, which means answer the phones at the office, because that's what we did then.
Right.
So the first day I got a call, I was nervous as heck. I talked to somebody and I got them to come into the office that evening and make an appointment, qualified them, showed them a house, and they decided they wanted to buy it. Can you imagine how I was just shocked at how easy it is? First day license, first day meet people, sell them a house. That price of that house was $30,000.
Did you say 30,000?
I said 30,000.
How many bedrooms?
3 bedrooms, 1 bath. It was actually a waterfront property on a small lake in Rensselaer County, outside of Albany, New York. And that was the beginning. I was just determined to make this work, because I had a business that failed, and I just wasn't going to have that happen again. So real estate just opened up for me, and I just went full steam ahead. Now, that was 39 years ago in 1983. Things have changed. No computers. I remember when fax machines first started.
Right.
You know, agents will tell you we used to have little books that we used to get to see what's for sale. Actually had to physically go to the office to get information about listings. I mean, if I showed properties, I'd have a list of properties and I'd have to set a map and a whole itinerary. Today, I can just go on and put the properties I'm going to see in and a map comes up on my phone. So the time that takes to get ready for showings is dramatically. The time to get to know about properties and the details about the properties, it's just unbelievable. And
wow.
That's throughout the years. It's not like all of a sudden. But the same things have happened. You have people who need your help, people who are looking for the right house, people who have to sell their house, they have the same needs. It's important. It's their biggest asset. Even at 30,000, it was the biggest thing that they were ever going to do.
Right, right.
Through the years, I learned that you just have to pay attention, listen, ask the right questions, and pay attention and move forward with what they want, not what you want, not on your timing, what's important to them. So,
right.
So far, so good.
Wow. I don't think people realize, when someone wants to see a property, it's not when you are available. It's when they want it. It could be within the hour if they're excited, and you just don't want to lose them. But you could be in the middle of a barbecue with your family and you have to make a decision what the heck you're going to do. So it's not lost on me. Yeah, it's not lost on me. Just a funny question though. That house, looking back now, that $30,000 house that you sold on your first day, congratulations. What would you price it now?
It's not a whole lot. It's probably, well, through the years it's been resold. I would say 250, 260.
Okay.
It's a very affordable market in Albany, New York. Very
okay. Gotcha. Unlike in the South Shore.
Unlike here.
Night and day.
Yes.
Night and day. Right.
Still important. still the same feelings, emotions, concerns, anxieties, they all.
Of course. Of course. Now, what people may not understand when you're an assistant broker is all that paperwork behind the scenes that is important for you to have to fill out for legitimization and liability and all of that, as well as technology. So just take us a little bit about how that changed, and did it get more complicated, and then did it get simple again? Or how's that been?
Our first contracts were with the paper that you put in between to
the carbon.
The carbon paper.
Right.
So it was simple. You just filled it in by hand. It got computerized, and that was great because you could have it all ready before you met somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Then it got all kinds of laws and requirements and disclosures, and so it multiplied. And now we have systems that autofill, so it's easy. It is a lot easier, that paperwork, but you have to know what you're doing. You can't make mistakes. People make decisions based on that information that you're publishing all over you tell Google, and Google tells the world. So you better have the right information.
Right.
What we have to do. And, if you talk about what's happened in the last 2 years in the business, and it was like, list a house, 2 days later it's sold. Those kinds of things, really, people they didn't have the time to pay attention to it, but now it's changing. All those details are important. All the preparation to get houses ready is important. More today than ever, they need a strategy, and somebody who knows how to do this,
right?
Knows what to get ready for, counsel them.
Right.
Talked a little bit before we set this up that there's so much information that gets to people from all different sources. So they get information about mortgage from this guy, information about rates, about house appreciation, and they're absorbing all of this, and they have nobody who pulls it together for them.
Right. Of course.
What a realtor can do. We
right.
are the source of all that information. And before, when I first started, there was no such thing as a mortgage broker. You went to the local bank. So you, as an agent, need to know how to qualify people, know what the banks require. So I can qualify somebody. I don't have to have them call a mortgage broker, although it's a good idea because they're the ones who are going to give a pre-approval letter.
Right.
But you just need to know all the tools, not just, okay, we're going to look at this house, tell me what you want to offer. Or they'll ask me how much they want to offer or how much they should offer. All those questions, very important. You just need some good.
Well, I think what's interesting with you and really inspiring, I think, to people is that you have been in the industry for so long. So you have really weathered the storms when there was no homes, and when you were looking for work, trying to get your buyers a house on the market. You had to wait with them, and they're frustrated. They keep emailing you probably, when is something going to come on? We want to move. And you've kind of had to weather all those storms. So, but you hung in there. So your expertise, I think I read once where if someone's been doing something for 8 years or more, they're considered an expert. Well, you've got that beat. So what differentiates you? Because something's kept you in it. You must really love certain parts of this business, which is probably why you're very good at what you do, probably. But what is it that differentiates you from other brokers?
I think it's my selflessness. We talked about somebody calls you to look at a house, whatever's happening, I'm there. So the family has suffered a little bit, but there are benefits to everything. It's the most important thing is what's best for the client and the customer. The selflessness, I'm honest, truthful. I'm diligent, I'm efficient. I turn over every stone that needs to be turned over. And
so you must spend absolute time with these people. You don't just show them something, you must get to know them a little bit.
It's very important. I suggest to new buyers that we sit down and have a consultation.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I just set something up. These folks are first-time home buyers, but have a substantial down payment. And we're going to meet and we're going to go through the whole process. I asked them if they have friends who've gone through this recently. In this circumstance, their friends are people that I sold a house to, so they felt comfortable with me and are now referring these folks to me to start at the beginning. So that gives us an opportunity to sit down and talk.
Excellent.
I can see their
Excellent.
reaction. They can see mine. We can just get down to what's really important while we're sitting there together and then go on the hunt.
Wow. So tell us a recent story, this past weekend, the weekends before. It's been pretty cold and raw out, but people that are looking to buy, they're probably pretty brave, right? They put their coats on, they just still want to see something. So
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter what time. And I think I sorry to cut you off, but I think you're asking me, when is the best time? Should people wait till spring? The best time to sell or buy a house when it makes the most sense for you. You can't try to figure out what's going to happen in the spring. You can guess, but if you have something that you want and we can find it, why not? The situations are going to be changed now and then in the spring. One of the things this past weekend, I was showing properties to somebody, and she is going to be selling her house. So we met, and I went into her house, and it was so important for me to see how she lives. And I think this has always been important to me because she has done a lot of improvements. So she has expectations as to what the condition of a house should be and what her level of finish is. I mean, people have such different attitudes about that or ideas. So to sit there with her and have her place and what she's done and what she's proud of and what's important to her and where she wants to be just helps me, immeasurably to help her move forward. And
wow.
when she finds something, we talk about interim, if she hasn't got her house sold. There's lots of details, lots of information, lots of resources that I can access to help her get where she wants to go and help anybody.
Absolutely. So just give us an example of what's happening out there. You must have shown homes this past weekend, I assume,
Yes.
or the weekend before. What's going on out there? How hungry are people to buy and to outbid each other? And what's going on now?
That has slowed. There are not as many people going to open houses, except a house that's good. The right price range, the right location, priced right, they sell. I mean, still in a weekend in this market, because there's such pent-up demand. And still a lot of people are not as rate sensitive as others. There are people who just started looking 2 weeks ago, so they don't know what it's like to look at a 3.25% interest rate. They're just looking at what's available today. So they're looking at what it's going to cost them, what their options are. The multiple offers still happen, not as much, not as dramatic. I mean, there were times when I'd be accompanying somebody to an open house and there was a line around the corner to see a seat. I had a house for sale that I had 180 people look at that house in 3 days. 180 people. That's not going to happen anymore. I say that. It's not happening now. But 180 people looking at one house, it's going to take a long time for that demand to be satisfied. And we have a very attractive area, lots of housing options, and people just are going to have to figure out what's going to fit best for them. So, and
Absolutely.
help them.
Right. So I obviously is it Redfin that is a source for people that they can put in their qualifications, what they're looking for, the criteria, and then you'll get an email in the morning, because I know that people get those, and if you don't remove them from you, you keep seeing what's coming on the market. So why would a person go with a broker? Why can't they just look at those? And what's the advantage of using a broker?
Okay, we'll take this situation with this lady that I just met with her. Okay, when she wants something, she says she's going to do some work, but what degree of work is she really willing to do? Redfin and photos make everything look so great. So people get listings, and how can they sort through whether it's been, doctored up, what's behind, what's nearby? Is there an unusual structure nearby that causes this house to be the price that it is? They're just getting that part of the information, the details about the property, what's in the neighborhood, what kind of turnover is happening in the neighborhood, how close are they? Well, they can find the public transportation, but there's just lots of information that a full-time practicing agent knows. I mean, that's our job, to know the inventory and to know what's particular or peculiar about some locations, some areas. Not to
Yeah.
say it's not going to sell. It's going to sell, but you got to find the right person. So people's lives are so busy and they value their time.
Mhm.
You can sort through it for them. Getting the information in a timely fashion certainly is important, but for somebody then to just bounce things off. So customers who are getting that information, and they call and say, Patsy, what do you think about this property? And we talk about it. And if it's close to being worked, we're going to go take a look at it. And really in the beginning, people are not willing to limit their parameters. They want to start with, okay, let's look at everything. And
Right.
eventually they start saying, maybe that's not the right area. So
Yeah.
so we start thinning things out. So that Redfin automatic information doesn't get tweaked. You have to tweak it.
Yes, yes. And how nice for you to be able to pick up that phone and talk to someone and answer their questions and say, you know what, I'm not sure, but I have another broker in my office that might know that. I'm going to find out for you. You can't find that on Redfin. You can't get those really important details. So
Absolutely.
absolutely.
What you just said is so important because I had shown some people some houses in Hingham and they were early in their stages, but then they realized that house was no longer available. So how do you find out what the status is of that house? So you just mentioned it. One of the agents in my office was listening. So I gave her a call, found out the situation, and then just got it straightened out and proceeded from there. So
Excellent.
the resources, the networking, the relationships that we have as agents, the background work that we do, it's just not evident to the average person.
No.
We just are going to show them a house and it's going to work. Negotiate. I mean, there's so much to negotiate.
Absolutely. And especially first-time buyers, they're nervous, they're excited, they're green. I mean, I can't imagine how valuable you would be. So as we wrap up, what kind of advice would you kind of maybe put out there for sellers or buyers? I know you had talked about don't wait, do what you need to do. But would you hold strong on that at this point with this market being so tumultuous in terms of your thoughts on advice for buyers and sellers right now?
I think I hold fast to my advice about if it's time. I would explain to sellers in particular that what's happened in the last couple of years or has changed since the second quarter of this year is unusual. It was great, but there's nothing that is precludes them getting what they need and what they want for the house in this new market. I explain to people that it's a process and that you don't just pick a price and put a house on the market. It's all the more important for a marketing strategy for somebody who has all the tools available and some promote the property to the most number of people possible and to get them the best price. It's their one time to capitalize on this big investment that they made whenever they bought it. So let's make the most of it.
Excellent. What a wonderful way to end. So thank you so much, Patsy. Really great information. Very helpful for people and interesting as well. This is Patsy, assistant broker with William Raveis of Hingham. Thank you so much again. What a pleasure to meet you. And I wish you continued success and lucky people that get you.
Thank you. And I welcome their calls.
Wonderful. To our listeners, the segment was recorded and can be found along with other segments on SouthShoreSeniorNews.com. Reach out to us if you have any suggestions for a podcast topic. We're always looking to share great information. And I'm Doreen Lang. It's been a pleasure to share this with you. See you next time.